first flight shouldn't be your short flight, like where you record your shot. First flight should be always your test flights. Keep things ready from your client end and then you take a flight. You see this weird looking goo on goo on it here. You just pour it. So you assemble all your drone components, pour everything, all the liquid over it. Just soak it in liquid. Make sure each and every corner is covered. And then it's waterproof. Protection is always better. Prevention. Start charging what the market values are. Just because you want the shoot, don't go low on prices. That just creates a very bad scene for the other drone operators.
So we'll get a bit technical now. Technical drone building and stuff. I was watching one of the Shark Tank episode. There was one company in which they were selling drones, right?
Yeah.
So what is FPV drones?
So FPV stands
Just to break down.
Yeah. So FPV stands for first person view. You wear the goggles. You get the feed in your goggles. And it's like flying an actual plane. So it's very immersive.
Do you get it 3D?
No, it's not 3D. It is a...
But are there anything where you get in 3D?
No.
Just asking.
So
people might be thinking.
Yeah, so FPV is not 3D. It is not augmented reality. It's not virtual reality. It is just a 2D image that is shown in both your screens.
I saw one of your posts where you had waterproofed the drone.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I saw it like going in the water, and I used to always think I want to fly a drone which is waterproof, but how do you make it, because the windings and all are open, right?
Two things in the drone are already waterproof. One is your motors. The winding is enamel coated.
All the drones, like, or
every motor will have an enamel coating on the, because imagine that winding, if you do it's a winding, no, it shouldn't touch, so it has to be coated.
Yeah, so I can fly the Mini somewhat in slide.
Only
It shouldn't go in the board.
Shouldn't go in the
near the circuit board.
So most of the DJI electronics is conformal coated. Conformal coating is basically waterproofing. All their circuit boards already have a basic level of waterproofing. Unless you dip the drone, people have even dipped the drone and then they've crashed in ponds and then they've rescued the drone like 2-3 days and put it in the rice and it has worked. DJI drones can be flown in rain, but don't fly. I'm not responsible.
Yeah, other than that, what they have done waterproofing?
Asking about waterproofing. So you get this coating, silicone based coating. There is a solvent inside. So as you apply it, the solvent dissolves in the air and the coating becomes, you can experience it. Yeah. So you see this weird looking goo on it here.
Yeah.
This thing. It's very soft to touch. So, and if you have to solder and stuff, then you just
it melts as soldering.
Yeah. You can peel it off and then reapply. So you just pour it. So you assemble all your drone components. Okay. Remove everything without desoldering. Plugs and everything has to be connected. Then you pour everything, all the liquid over it. Just soak it in liquid. Make sure each and every corner is covered. And then it's waterproofed. Protection is always better. Prevention.
Can you tell me like the typical parts for a build, FPV build?
Yeah, sure. So the FPV drone has 4 or 5 main parts. So first thing is your frame or the carbon fiber frame. You need to select the frame according to your flying characteristics. So this is what I like. This is what I purchased. Then your next thing is your motors, and you do some calculations and according to the thrust, according to the payload, you choose the motors with the particular thrust. Then there is flight controller and speed controller. Flight controller and speed controller, they speak to each other. Basically, flight controllers tell the speed controller how much motor rotations to give to each motor. Those 2 parts. Then the next part is your video transmission. This camera sends the video feed to your goggles. The next important part is your control receiver. So that speaks to the remote controller.
And what is this part?
So that's the antenna for the video transmitter, and this is the antenna for the remote controller. And then there is more expensive thing, which is the goggles, which are super expensive, about 50,000 rupees for this. The drone costs about 35,000, and the remote should be around 15 to 20, a good reliable one. Yeah, so these are the main things.
I've seen many people when they fly with the goggles, their body tied up to somewhere because they might
I've
lose
seen
control.
people, I used to lose control like recently, like as you fly,
Because it is an immersive experience,
Yeah.
sort of, right? You feel that
you just
jerk
need
and-
to tell your body that you are not moving. It's just the picture in your, in the goggles that's moving. But I've seen people standing on cliff edges and then flying FPV drone. Like, shit, that is something next level. I want to try that.
How do you program in specific software or what language or something? You need programming in that?
So, no, there is no programming needed in FPV drone. You remember? Have you seen the Shark Tank episode of the FPV thing?
I had just seen the trailer of that and then...
There's no programming needed. There are two softwares. One is called Beta Flight, that is focused for racers and people who are into FPV drones. Another firmware is called iNav. In Beta Flight, there are more features for FPV pilots like tunability and stuff like that. In iNav, those features are absent, but there are more features for GPS based tasks.
There are softwares where you can just configure it.
Yes, those are just the softwares where you put the values and tell the software this is the kind of drone is, the drone has such small motors, not really, but the configuration of motors is like this, and the GPS location is here, and the magnetometer and compass are oriented in this way, and the flight controller is either flipped like this or flipped like this or rotated like this. So you just tell the software this is how the drone is set up. That's all. And everything, it's a proper user interface. And that iNav has a lot of GPS based features, and this drone can hold its position, can return to home, being an FPV drone. So I love this. This is like a DJI FPV drone, Avata.
Yeah, but then the boards and all you get of various brands, right? So how is it compatible?
If you choose, if you plan to switch between the softwares, you want the compatibility with both the softwares, then you buy a board that has a barometer or I2C protocol.
Most complex build.
Most complex, my Blackmagic camera to naked conversion, this one. So this is a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Since you are into videos, you know what that camera is. It's a very bulky camera. Then I had to put it into this enclosure. Not the drone, ignore the drone, but this top thing that you see is what the conversion is. So I just remove the motherboard, sensor, put it in this enclosure, and saved around 300 to 350 grams, which is like pretty huge.
What is the bottom thing? This is a vision camera or something?
Yeah, so every drone will have that camera. So that's basically the camera that gives me
the feed.
feed
You
in my
won't get
goggles.
feed from here.
No, this is just the recording. I'll just put this on in some time and show you how the
But then
interface is.
the angle from this and angle from this will be different, right?
Yeah, so depending on what I'm shooting, imagine I'm shooting some cars drifting. Then if it is a fast action, I have to fly fast. Then the faster you go, the more angle, the angle gets more aggressive. So I point the cameras a little higher. And then I have to point this also a little higher. I loosen this and then I get it higher like that and tighten it. And slightly, kind of eyeball and see that both the cameras kind of pointing in the same direction.
Okay.
And then as you fly, and then in my goggles, I have the frame guides set according to this camera's field of view. So more or less, I'm shooting what this camera is seeing. This was a very crazy build. So I got calls and, गाली फ्रॉम मैनी पीपल से, अरे भाई हम लोग लेंस निकालने से पहले भी कैमरा ऐसा उल्टा करके उस पर डस्ट वस्ट करते हैं एंड ऑल दैट, तू तो ऐसे सेंसर निकाला उसका. आई एम प्रिटी श्योर दैट दिस विल होल्ड अप इन अ क्रैश. I don't think
the original 4K body is like a
it is composite, carbon nylon composite, so it won't shatter like carbon fiber, but it will break like very soft kind of a fabric. It can tear.
do you spend time, or is there an option where you optimize flight time and all in this, or it is based on the components what you use?
To get the most flight time, have to increase in layman term, you have to increase the size of the battery and make everything as light as possible. But there is a sweet spot to that battery also. A big battery will stop you from doing nimble flights. It will be very sluggish. It will fly for long, but it will do very sluggish movements. You don't want that. And you don't want something that just flies and then you have to take it down in like 2 minutes. 3-4 minutes minimum.
Yeah.
So you have to select a battery that is light enough yet can hold up the charge, and then you can do a lot of cinematics or acrobatics, however you want to fly.
But I think more of acrobatics only you do, na? Cinematic shots you get with the other drone.
Yeah, so those are also cinematics if you see. Like those are very sober flights.
Yeah, but you don't get like just a static one, just just a pan shot.
This is more like going into something always. So flying from a height, like a mountains, taking that line and following those trees, and then those are also cinematics if you see. But yeah, much more thrilling.
Yeah.
A lot of adrenaline.
There is some
rush.
weird feeling to that. You feel trippy that's enough to watch, but you feel like I should watch more. Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I fly, I'm like, I got the shot, but I want to fly more. So I'll just go again. Then, shit, battery is going too low. I have to do this last flight. Okay, come down and change the battery. Then I will fly more. Because the batteries, so like you cannot keep them charged. You have to discharge them. You cannot store them. Charge kar do, wait for the shoot. No. Just charge them a day before the shoot.
Otherwise, if you have them charged, you fly them and discharge them and then keep?
Yeah, discharge them and keep.
Why so?
Because if you read the label on the battery, they will be mentioned as 3.7 volts per cell. And that is the healthy voltage that a battery is happy to stay in, that voltage. So when you charge, they will kind of bulge if you store them in a charged state. They will start to puff up. And if you kind of keep them discharged also completely, they will puff up. So 3.7 volt is like a storage voltage which you have to keep at. Even DJI drones. You cannot just charge the batteries and keep them. You have to at 50% always.
I've been keeping them
Charged always. I know. Everybody does that. I've done that and they're like, oh shit, these are expensive, I shouldn't do.
Yeah, I should now discharge them and keep by 50%. Because it is like you can get shoot anytime. If you have to give battery, keep it charged and keep. So it is like that.
The good thing about the Mini is they are using lithium ion cells inside. They don't bulge.
So it is advisable if you keep it at 50% or less something.
We get the charger. No, the charger also has discharge function in it. So you just plug the battery into the charger, and on the other end, you plug a high wattage bulb, like a car bulb or something. And then you set how much voltage is your storage voltage. And then the charger will light that bulb up. When it reaches that storage voltage, it will stop.
There's a hot burning question. People ask, license aega? Do you need a license for FPV?
See, for any drone, you need license. Since drones are banned, you cannot fly them anywhere. So if we have to fly somewhere, when we get a shoot, we tell the client to arrange for those things. Because we are not somebody who will... Amka kon license di not. Permission. Nobody gives us a permission. Licensing has started in India. DGCA has centers, but they have hired people who are like freshers. We know more about drones. Like DGCA is for civil aviation. It's a civil aviation agency, and they teach a lot of things, I think, which are not really needed if you are into drone operating. Process to get the license is quite expensive. Not really sure if it justifies that price, but yeah, I would definitely.
Because I had inquired, someone told me you get a license and keep, and we were wondering the shoots are so less here, and then the
You
price.
should get returns, no?
Yeah, that only.
The price should be
The drone
justifiable.
returns we are not getting, then you take license and you just.
Right now, having a license doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you can fly everywhere you want. It is just a documentation that हाँ मेरे को ड्रोन उड़ाना आता है, बट मेरे जैसे ड्रोन उड़ाने वाले और भी है जिसके पास लाइसेंस नहीं है, तो मैं लाइसेंस लेके करूँ क्या, उसका फ़ायदा ही नहीं है. तो देर आर पीपल विथ लाइसेंस हु फ्लाई लाइक शिट, and then there are people like me, so many people like me who fly really good, we don't have license. License is not really important. And all type, even see, recently I was flying for Indian Army in Uttarakhand. Like all their so every year they do this joint exercise with neighboring countries. Like this time they had gone to Uzbekistan, so it is like a collaboration, like a joint exercise. They do a lot of drills. So as a trailer for that, we shot, a team went and shot with them. It was crazy. It was amazing. And nobody asked for the license. Bhai, tere ko drone operate karne aata hai ki nahi? Nobody asked. Like, if the army is not keen on getting those, then what's the point?
Where have you encountered where they have asked license?
Never.
No. For the even for the movie or the not required, na?
Never. There will be some kida.
Yeah, some random people. I think some resort or something we're shooting. Then someone was asking, "Do you have license?"
Taj does this. Taj has this. There's nothing wrong with it, frankly. So they have their own system. They have a form where you have to mention UIN of the drone, unique identification number. And they were asking this UIN even before the UIN process for registration had started. Nobody in the country had UINs that time.
They might have the template from abroad or the other. Yeah. So they just got it here.
No. This was proper Indian things only. So they were asking, and I used to write, UIN process has not started in those blanks. And they were like, only DANs have been allotted. So DAN, mentioned the DAN. But pilot license not needed for this category of drones. I used to mention that. Everything what I've been flying is under 2 kg. All the drones are under 2 kg. So I am not eligible to have a pilot license. Anything over 2 kg is where you need a pilot license. Technically what the laws states is if you want to fly somewhere, you need to mention the local authorities. It's like a local police station. Police station, as soon as you go there, you have a tension ki they'll come and harass you at the time of shoot. You never know what they'll do. Yeah. So first of all, they will not let you fly. Even if you are having a license, like no, हम लोग responsibility नहीं लेने वाले. You're not allowed. I'm not speaking wrong things about the police, but these are the things that come to your mind, and you'll be like, अरे बिना बताए fly किया तो अच्छा है. Then you take the wrong path. But again, nobody's going to catch you. So just
when you ask, usually tendencies when you ask, they won't agree.
Yeah.
अच्छे से पूछो तो कोई एग्री नहीं करेगा. लाइक बाद में आप बोलोगे ऐसे क्यों किया वैसे क्यों किया.
So you be a responsible flyer. You know that you are not supposed to invade anybody's privacy. Don't go close to somebody's balcony or something like that, Just stay away from people and fly in very secluded places. Do your shots and go away from that place. Simple as that. As long as you follow local, like the privacy thing, and then be away from government buildings.
Stay away from airports and all.
Yeah, exactly. Airports, one of the most important thing. Stay away from the airport. Approach paths and... Yeah. If you are doing something right, then you just have to confident that I'm doing something right. Even if you want to catch me, that I have an explanation for why I'm doing this. So yeah, but in Goa, I've never faced any issues. Like even when I was flying illegally, in their terms, it is illegal because drones are illegal. Even when I was flying in public places, like cops have come and told us that bhai kon complain karche, before somebody complains just go away, huh? Once you are done just go. They've been sweet so far.
When I fly the mini and when I fly the air is so quiet. And mini, it's
They are getting so small and so capable.
okay. Before rapid fire, I had one question. Like, if you had to design like a perfect drone, like what specs or what things will?
It should be light, it should be small, it should have a big sensor to shoot big resolution videos, high resolution videos, and should fly a really long time, should have a good decent flight time.
The recent one you are getting with that tele lens. You have seen the three, na? 77 160 mm lens. There.
I have the Mavic 3, normal Mavic 3, which has those two lenses, and I always wish like, oh shit, there should be this lens which should, wide that gap in the middle, it should fill up that gap. And then DJI comes up with that. You're like, yes, I have to buy this now. It gives you confidence to fly, plus it gives you a really nice parallax also.
Yeah. So we move to rapid fire. Yeah, some noob advice and something like that. Okay. So drones or bike? Which one will you select?
Drones.
Yeah. Bike, I think it is faded off because you have already sold your bike.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Not because of that. I wasn't getting time. I sold it because after I got married, I wasn't getting time to ride it. And my bike had that cowl, no back seat. And my bike, bile, my wife hated bikes. So I was like, okay, fine. And then I was also getting time to, I was getting a lot of shoots. And like the bike was rusting in one corner. It was right time to just sell it off.
Sad story.
Yeah, sad story. But FPV gives you that thrill, except for the oral drama of the bikes. So the thrill is always there in this, so it's fine.
Customizing, building drone or being a pilot?
Making drones, building drones. I love to do those things.
3 tips for noob drone pilot.
Don't consider that you are not capable enough and undercoat. Practice, learn to set your movement values right, so your drone behaves the way you want and you get smooth footage. Once you are familiar with how you connect to the drone properly, start charging what the market values are. Just because you want the shoot, don't go low on prices. That just creates a very bad scene for the other drone operators. You need to even the taxi association has a proper rates. Just to get the job, just to get a ride, they won't simply come down on prices, right? That should be similar with all the fields. Although taxi association is pretty pathetic in Goa. Be little, baap ka paise ka, aise, don't simply have some respect for your father's money. Not the first drone is usually always given to you by your parents, so don't have an attitude. Be always into that learning zone. Like, you just because you have a drone doesn't mean you know everything. You have to learn everything. Every day is a new learning from a new client. So be open to learning and know your drone before going to your shoot. One day this guy from Mapsa, he had a Inspire one. Okay, he gives me a call. So I'll tell you what the scene is. So Inspire 1 RAW records raw data on the SSD. And it's not like direct plug and play and you can copy the files. There has to be there's a DJI software that you have to fire up. Then you put the SSD in the card reader. Then it will read, and then you select the files and export it into your storage media. This guy doesn't know. After the shoot, he calls me like, "Bhai, ये copy कैसे करने का? तूने shoot पे गया, तेरे को पता नहीं है ये?" Then I told him, "बाबा ऐसे कर पाचर है." But yeah, that's what. Know your drone. Clients don't want to, they don't have time to time for you to research after shoot, how to
They have
troubleshoot
hired you
something.
because you're a professional, right?
Exactly.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah, have and since the newbies are newbies, there will be a lot of crashes even with the DJI drones. Keep a backup handy. Don't simply go on a drone that if it crashes you don't know what to do next. Then the next another person he'll send. This has happened before. Like I've hired a person and then his drone goes bad and he hires another person. He comes on shoot and I get scolding from the client by konang dalda re do shootak. So I stopped referring people. Recce's are really important. You need to know what location you are flying at, especially when it comes to FPV drones. How will the signal will perform in that scenario? Because there will be a lot of, if it's a music event, there will be a lot of people
Interference,
and
Wi-Fi
then
interference,
mobile
yeah.
phone signals, towers around. So even when there are people, you have to do like test flights and see how far you can go comfortably. First flight shouldn't be your short flight, like where you record your shot. First flight should be always your test flights. Then you need to know how to conserve your batteries. Simply don't fly, Keep things ready from your client end and then you take a flight.
You must have encountered, right? Client saying, or do shot le lo, or do shot.
That happens. That's fine. But when the drone is flying, you should be recording. You shouldn't be thinking what to do.
Yeah, you take the flight arm and but let me think, let me frame the shot.
Yeah.
नीचे उतारना उसको तो.
10 minutes of a flight should have at least 7-8 minutes of footage. Be like that. So your flight time, your battery time shouldn't go to waste.
Most horrifying moment of your career.
The EVC crash. Usually anytime a crash happens is but thankfully I have never crashed like FPV drones
in people.
Yeah, I've never crashed any drones into people except for the EVC crash. I don't even know where it crashed properly. So that was a big goof up.
But then with experience, you get to know small details and how to, manage and everything.
Yeah. So as you keep flying, you learn a lot about the physics of the drone. And then, your mind just subconsciously does those movements. You kind of avoid. It's like walking and then you trip over something and you react.
Like for example, for the ready-made drones, I'm saying the pan shot, they put that quick shot and they do. But if someone is professional and wants, so he will, just have this motion and then he'll take a pan shot.
Yeah, I always do all those.
And then there is fun doing that when you do it manually. You have control and when
you have control over the altitude. You have control like whenever you want to go close to in that pan shot. Gimbal. In the pan shot, like automated one, only thing you have is actually you don't have control over anything. The drone does it all by itself.
You only have the control to stop it.
Yeah.
When you say something, you have to stop. Only that control here. I had one more interesting question. Like the drone, the ready-made what you get, the board, can you use that board if you're doing some FPV build? Can you remove that and?
Yes, of course. So I had this thing in mind. So my Mavic 2 Pro right now is kind of, just like a secondary drone. It is just lying around. So what I thought, create an enclosure for the motherboard. Remove the gimbal part, just keep the camera and then put everything in a 3D printed enclosure and then mount that enclosure over this drone, FPV drone. So that can be used as a drone for live streaming because on the smart controller you have the HDMI output. Give it to the mixer and then.
But that board can be compatible with what remote?
No, it won't be compatible. So you will have a existing drone's motherboard only transmits the camera settings and camera feed. You can see everything, see the picture, do the aperture, do the shutter speed, do the ISO, put the record. So one person can be just dedicated to do those settings and
In this FPV, you get 2-person control?
Yeah, so recently they have been making cinelifters where it's basically a FPV drone that can lift a cinema camera. So they are called cinelifters. So on those cinelifters, they have started putting DJI RS gimbals with a cinema camera on it. So the cinema camera is sending its feed to camera operator, who is operating the gimbal. So imagine this drone is flying a FPV pilot, for example. I'm flying this drone straight this way. So the other person pans this camera, rotates it, however. So you can either mount it on top or at the bottom. So if I'm doing more of frontal shots, then I mount it here, and then I go close to the car, I do all these shots, and then the camera operator just focuses where the camera needs to see.
But how it this sync? Because one person is flying.
So they are both together.
One person is flying like this, he wants to sing, but if in his motion he goes a bit ahead.
So the gimbal does most of the stabilizing, and then they speak to each other on the intercom.
It should have been like, "Arey, Rahul, what's up?"
In Konkani, that will be that's how they will speak, but it's pretty chilled out, I think. It's a lot of fun.
One more question I missed out before we close. Like how you travel to other states and all, right? So how you carry the drone, because on flight and all they say.
Yeah. So my drones go in luggage. I'll distinguish between FPV and Mavic. If I'm going on a Mavic DJI drone shoot, then my remote and the batteries stay with me in the handbag. The drone, the propellers and all the other accessories stay in the luggage check-in. Now, if I'm carrying FPV drones, any drone will stay in the luggage, and any batteries will stay in the handbag. There is no issues with you carrying drones in domestic flights. There's no problem. Only thing is the authorities are keen on knowing why are you carrying so many batteries. That's the only concern they have. Like, तू इतना battery लेके जा कहाँ रहा है? So I just open my Instagram account and tell them that this is what I do for living. This is a homemade drone, and every battery it flies for around 3 minutes.
Typically, how many batteries you carry?
Like
must be carrying a lot. That's why they are asking.
Major shoot then around 15 to 20. And those are
then
quite,
definitely they'll be asking, what are you doing with so many? Are you exporting it from Goa to?
So yeah, you just have to make them realize that you're not doing anything wrong.
Because we have never traveled with the drone, but always curious, like.
So for DJI drones, not a problem. Now they are familiar कि हर बंदे के पास तो ड्रोन है ही और ये कैरी करेगा. तो they might just ask you कि बैटरी लेके किधर जा रहा है और तेरा ड्रोन किधर है. So just tell them कि drone is in my luggage. You might think that you are getting harassed because you're carrying a lot of batteries, but no, just need to
open your Instagram and show them.
Cooperate and tell them कि भाई,
don't be arrogant.
Just because you have done a couple of shoots with some really good celebrities.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Like,
I'm pretty much active on Instagram. My posts are not that active.
You can find at V-Arrow.
Yeah. So
W-E-A-R-O.
V-Arrow. Yeah. And YouTube is where my content, like showreel content, goes. But Instagram is my main platform.
Great experience. एक ड्रोन तो यहाँ बेच के ही जाएगा. So
I'll keep a few.
So Kunal Raj, this side, hope you enjoyed listening. You can find this episode on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. And keep listening. If you liked, then drop a comment. If you have any more questions, drop a comment. इधर से काट देता है.